The City of Albuquerque Public Art Urban Enhancement Division and Department of Arts and Culture proudly present Take Another Look. Built on the foundation of two city ordinances, Art in Municipal Places, and the Urban Enhancement Trust Fund, the Public Art Urban Enhancement Division provides funds to artists to create art for the public, as well as arts organizations for arts and cultural programming. Join us as we discuss everything related to funding artists in the public realm with host Joni Palmer.
Hello, I'm Joni Palmer, and welcome back to Take Another Look at Albuquerque's public art. This is our 8th episode. We've talked about a lot so far in this podcast. We started with talking about what is public art. We talked about the program budget, the new gallery in City Hall, the glass art at the International District, and now we're talking about murals. And this is the second episode in a set of 3. So today I'm going to be talking with 2 local muralists, so Noah Barnett and also Andrew Fearnside. So I'm going to do a really quick brief introduction of both of you so people can get to know a little bit about each of you, how you approach being a muralist. So Noah is a muralist and painter. He infuses the streets with life through his vibrant creations. With a burgeoning reputation as a key player in the mural scene, he has transformed public spaces into canvases in multiple states, bringing art directly to the people. His murals are dialogues in color and form, engaging communities and using light to invigorate public spaces with new narratives. It's lovely to have you with us here today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And Andrew Fearnside makes murals and illustrations that use texture, pattern, and color to explore relationships. Sharp shape and edges, harmony and disharmony, novelty and stability. His images arise from a drawing-based form-making language involving photography, digital collage, and layer building. He values the irrational and the absurd, play and intuition as modes of thinking and research, and paradox and complexity over the obvious answers. So nice to have you with us.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Yeah. Well, as I said, this is the second of 3 episodes about murals. And in the previous episode, I talked with Dr. Kim Pinder and Nanny Chacon, who is also a local artist and muralist, about the power and perception of murals, as well as what does it make for a successful mural project. And so we'll pick that up a little bit as we talk today. They both emphasize that successful mural projects require deep listening and looking, and that murals can be transformational on 3 levels. The space can be transformed, the community, the people can be transformed, as well. And strangely enough, I hadn't really thought about this, the artist is transformed by that whole experience. So we'll be talking about a bunch of different stuff today, but first thing, and this is the first question I asked Kim and Nani, is how do you define a mural? What is a mural for you, to you? And whoever wants to start first.
Okay. Well, a mural is a big painting on a wall. I mean, right?
Mm-hmm. Bottom line.
But then, then we can start playing around. What if the wall is a bunch of walls and it's not all flat, or it goes around a corner, or the wall is curvy, or the wall has a lot of windows? Those are all very different walls. Mm-hmm. And then if you paint with flour and water, that's really different than painting with Nova Color or spray paint, permanence. Mm-hmm. Let's see, there's a muralist who runs around with a lawn sprinkler that he connects to paint and a sprayer. You know this guy? Yeah. And he just goes, and it's kind of cool looking, you know? He does that all over the place.
So intention.
Right. I think he would be one of those expressionist types who's like, this is the intention I had for 1/10 of a second. Mm-hmm. Versus a mural that you do community engagement and you spend years, months in dialogue with people. Mm-hmm. That's a very different kind of sustained attention and intention. What else could we do? You want to add to that?
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything to add. It's pretty comprehensive description, I would say.
Right. I mean, yeah. It's. Go ahead.
The history is politics. right? Diego Rivera and friends. A mural is a painting in public. It is not something that is for a private collector. It's not about class, or it's a very distinct take on class in America, you know? That's a big deal. A mural is for everybody who walks by or who has access to that place.
Right, so the sociopolitics of murals.
But then that said, I don't know about you, but I like to do private commissions if I can get them. So...
Right, so they're different in terms of, and we're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes in terms of the difference between those public and private commissions.
Yeah.
Now, why do you think the murals have grown so much in terms of popularity? Not only in New Mexico, and Albuquerque is becoming a mural city. What do you attribute that to? Why do you think murals are popular for artists, but also for communities?
I think in terms of the community, this was something that drew me to murals when I was first starting out in my art career, was just the growing up, not knowing anything about art, not being knowledgeable about anything in the art scene. Murals are brought to you, to where you live, to your community, to your space. And there's not any barriers. You don't have to go to an art gallery or to a museum to see the artwork. And so it's all the barriers are removed, and the artwork is just brought straight to your front doorstep and to your neighborhood, and I think that's a big reason why they're well received. And on the artist perspective, same sort of vibe, I would say, very accessible, and then you're able to kind of tattoo the city in a way. It's very, I mean, it's just paint. You could paint over it in the grand scheme of things, but you're making landmarks in a sense with paint.
Yep.
Anything else anything else you want to add to that in terms of the...
Why are they popular? I think if I want to make a bronze sculpture, then I need some infrastructure. And it should be kind of close by, because a big bronze sculpture is really heavy. So I'm trying to say murals are a different way of doing public art, different from 150 years ago at least, and also different from major cities with a longer history of great wealth. Like Albuquerque is different from New York in that New York has this long history of having really rich people who want to have giant heavy things of their granddad, on a horse or whatever.
So there's a grassroots component to it.
I think so.
Yeah. And so, how has it been as you've gone into communities? How have they perceived murals? Have you had to convince them that a mural is the right kind of form or materials or process?
Yes and no. I think there have been instances where you have to kind of give proof that what you're going to do is going to be an asset to their living space, and then there are other people that give you full creative freedom to just do whatever because they've seen the impact that it's had in the past. So.
Well put. Yeah. I forgot the question. Can you tell me what it is?
So how is it that you feel that people have perceived you and these projects, these mural projects, as you go into these communities? And so we're talking about the public aspect of public art.
Thank you for using that word. Yeah, because I think that's the question there is like, what is the public? And I'm thinking of the Artful Life funded or organized Vision Zero mural I got to do on the expo wall. Where I got to meet people with differing levels of organization. I went to a guy's house to give him a survey. He had no idea what a mural was. So he's kind of like, what are you coming to my house for? That's one aspect of the public and one interface. I also got to meet people through East Central Ministries. So folks were already in that organization and were told in advance I was going to come. So they all had some questions. They had some kind of, they were more receptive because I was meeting them in a context that made sense.
Right.
And then there's like interacting with the folks who run the expo. That's a whole other level of buy-in and knowledge about what public art is and what municipal development is and all that. The public one of the reasons I love this work is the public is so much more complex than I am. You know?
Right.
It's such an
yeah.
adventure to go and meet a guy who's going to sleep across the street and get to talk with him about like, well, he likes this part and he doesn't like that part. Or I got to meet a guy and put him in the mural, like because he came by and wanted to talk about it. And
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's almost, I feel like it can be overwhelming at times trying to take into account so many different factors and
Right.
cultures and I don't have the answers, but it's a lot to think about when making a design and trying to make something that's relevant and impactful. You know.
And it seems like, my next question is like, what brought you to doing murals? And it seems like for both of you, it is about that interaction, right? But also, what was your first mural project? What got you to do your first mural?
Mine was for a charity. It was a nonprofit. It's called 821. They do human trafficking work. And I had no idea what I was doing. My friend just knew I painted, and your friends know you do stuff. They're going to try to not exploit it, but you know what I mean.
Help you along?
A little bit, yeah. So she asked me to paint a wall, and I said yes, and figured it out. And, now we're here.
Wow. How long ago was that?
That was 5 years ago.
Okay. Wow. And how about you?
I was living in Appleton, Wisconsin, and I was teaching drawing at Lawrence University. And so I met another faculty person who wanted to have a mural for their kid in the bedroom. It was a private commission. And I've always loved art history and blah, blah, blah. So this is a period in Germany before World War II when Oskar Kokoschka and friends were making folk art related stuff. So I kind of ripped off a bunch of that and put like a tile pattern all over this kid's room. Yeah, it was really weird because I'd go to this little bedroom for a small person like every day for 2 weeks. It was not interactive at all.
So let's use that let's talk about the difference between the public and the private, right? And have you you've done commissions as well? So what about each of them is compelling to you, right?
That's a great question. Yeah. Do you want me to talk? Or
Yeah, feel free. I'm still thinking.
Okay. One thing is about making a mural that goes on, is it lead and second? For the United mural? Coal?
Yeah.
Or one that I got to do a BMX mural, thanks to Public Art, on Cesar Chavez. Getting to do something that everybody's going to see is, of course, really exciting because, if everybody's going to see it. That's exciting.
Yeah.
But it's that feeling of like just unregulated diversity. Woo, it's just going to be wild.
Right. Some people will like it. Some people won't.
Exactly. And all the things I thought were important in high school, like none of that is all that important. Do you like my music? Do you like my style and clothing? Who cares, right? Like it's more, for me, it's kind of like the stuff I learned doing yoga and counseling is how to meet people and just relax.
Right.
That's great about the public. The private stuff, well, it's a much smaller set, and the relationship is going to be more intimate. I don't know about you, but like some of the commissions mean like working with an art consultant, and that person and I get to know each other, but really the corporation is like, I don't even know where they are. They're on another planet in terms of the distance from the design process.
Right.
Or other ones are like, it's just this person and he wants something nice for his kid. It's the set is really way more it's like in the public stuff, I never know who I'm gonna run into. But in the private stuff, you never know what kind of weird thing this other person is into.
Okay.
They really like Hot Wheels from 1974. What? Like what?
Right. So. And how about for you? I mean, so you do both, right? You continue to do public and private.
Yeah. I think the objective is just different. And there is an aspect of just paying your bills sometimes. Like sometimes the job might not be creatively fulfilling, but it's a check. And I know that it may not be the most artistically like true. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, there's an aspect of that. So sometimes with the private jobs, you just say yes and get it done to allow you the time and the resources to make the next work that is the one that's going to be impactful. So sometimes that is the case with private things, like maybe you're not interested in Hot Wheels, for example. But,
I am.
But
that's a good one. Like being a muralist, being an artist is a profession. This is a real thing that grown-ups do. Got to pay the bills.
Right.
It's a honor to get to play that role, and it's hard to get to a point where I can do this full time. And it's also a job. It's a real thing.
Right. And so speaking of it as a job, when you apply for a public commission, what is the process? So what do you have to go through to get that particular project for your, as a job?
Okay. Well, I would say it takes a lot of writing for a public commission, and I think that's a barrier that makes it hard. I got to go to college. I loved writing as a kid and as a teenager, and I majored in English, so I did a lot of writing. So when it came to doing these things, I had the privilege of that education, and it made it easier to know what the writing process was going to be like. And I would say it's, I want to say it's hell, but it's not hell. It's just really, really hard because
you have to describe the project. And what is the other writing? I mean, it's...
in terms of, if for the grant writers who are listening, these projects are like that, but they're way smaller, so it's much simpler. But as a visual artist, that's just not part of the practice, right? Like, I don't sit around writing my bio every day.
Right.
So there are some things that repeat, like a bio, and then there's sort of frameworks that repeat, like a verbal description of what a project might be like. But beyond that, I would say each application is really different, one from the other. And I remember hearing like, "Oh, you'll just reuse what you did." Oh, no. I would say even rewriting what you did is to kind of gloss over what it's like to do.
So the writing.
Yeah, I'd say writing's a big part. But then there's this whole thing of portfolio.
Right. You have to find the opening, right? And then there's a process you go through. So, the writing, the portfolio, what about for you in terms of that process of getting that job?
I think in thinking about the process in the past, so there's a call usually all the time, every time. You drop your name in it, and usually that first initial call, you just give your past examples of your work, and then you'll make it to the next step, and then at that point, it's when you have to be presentable. You might have to go in person, and it's kind of a weird relationship because what's going on the wall, it has nothing to do with the way you articulate yourself, your ability to write, but that has an impact on you getting the job. If you're not able to present in person, then you may not get the opportunity. So it is a weird relationship. But yeah, writing, developing professional looking portfolio or resume, having your images, high quality photos of your stuff, and just trying to release, knock all the barriers down, because there's barriers that are seemingly in place to stop us from being able to create. And I think the goal for us as artists would be to just get all of the barriers and all the obstacles out of the way. And if writing is an obstacle for you, maybe you can outsource that, get someone to write for you. I mean, we have AI nowadays, so you can enter some thoughts in there, and it'll spit something back out at you, and then you can alter that. So there's so many different variables, or so many different things you can do to get around those obstacles and start painting.
Right. Well, let's talk about a couple of your projects. So, Andrew, you completed the Vision Zero mural on the far east side of the Expo, New Mexico. It's on Louisiana Boulevard. So when you're driving down, take a look at our murals. But I want to do a shout out before, because you worked with a team of artists, youth, community members to create this mural, and you managed a team. But significantly, as part of this, you created a safe space and a communications tool for helping people to feel comfortable, to feel safe in the space as you were creating that mural, which is a really forward-thinking and thoughtful, like thinking about who you're working with. So tell us a little bit about that and why you did it.
So what I heard, the thing I'm going to respond to is the communication tool and the safe space. That was part of how that project was really transformative for me. As a counselor, I'd gotten to learn about the opposite of safe, learn about trauma. And just to say it clearly, like most people have some trauma. Trauma is a universal part of human life. The more privileges that you have in your life, the lower your trauma load. The less privileges you have in American life, the higher your trauma load. And the ID is a place that has been oppressed in a number of different ways since its inception. People who live there have a higher trauma load in general. So creating a safe space is a real necessity. If one is not safe, one can't self-regulate. If you can't self-regulate, you can't create. Creativity relies on play, which only happens when we're regulated enough.
Right.
Our nervous system is regulated enough.
Right.
I learned a little bit about theories of that as studying counseling and then doing counseling. My wife, Catherine, is a nurse, and she learned more. And a mutual friend with whom we did community projects, Mindy Grossberg, she used to run Art Street for a while. She also learned a bunch about managing trauma. The problem I was facing was security.
Okay.
So we're going to be on this job site, and the easy part is the sidewalk's kind of narrow.
Yeah.
So
And there's lots of traffic going fast.
How tall is that wall?
7.5 feet.
Okay.
So the easy part, or rather not so delicate part, is like, how do you make it so people working there don't go in, get hit by a car? And the solution is to use some kind of traffic barriers that drivers recognize, like cones, go to the public art department, and thanks to Matt and Eric and Sherry, get the lane closed off. That was a whole big old process.
Right.
And that's for the workers, right? Okay, so problem solved. What about people walking through? That part of Louisiana is, let's see, the number of, it's one of the places in the country going down a bit with the highest rate of pedestrian death. So, and partly that is because people in the ID are more likely to not have access to transit other than walking. There are more pedestrians.
Right.
So on that particular block, there's a bunch of people walking back and forth because they have to. They don't have any other transit. And there's a bus stop right along this little stretch where we're going to do the work. They need to get to the bus stop. We needed to have them not get to the bus stop because we'd like to paint there.
Right.
So, so we're going to have interactions with pedestrians who. And how do we be safe as workers? Security, quote unquote, quickly becomes a way to talk about poverty. Like, in other words, if I'm the white guy painting, do I feel secure in a place? So that was the transformation for me.
Right. And it's something I never really thought about.
Oh.
Right. I mean, all of those different movements and activity that is happening in that space.
Yeah.
And so, Noah, how about for you? Have you can you tell me about your process and how you do self-care, right? Self-care and well-being when you're working on a mural project.
It's a good one.
I don't. It's a very pedal to the metal, long days,
Okay.
hot days usually, painting in the heat, which I would prefer. I prefer to be hot over cold, but yeah, it's strenuous work, but I love it, so I don't really care too much. The process for me usually looks like, once you get the job and you have the design approved, it's getting the sketch on the wall using a number of different doodle grid, projector, whatever you can, and then it's just spray paint is normally what I use, and it's just, oftentimes it's a very solo process, so opposite of what you're speaking about, I'm out there by myself,
Yeah.
listening to a book or some music on my headphones, and
Right.
just in the zone. And then obviously you'll have interaction with people as they're walking by, but
Right.
yeah, it's an enjoyable process, but self-care could be better. for
Oh,
sure.
okay.
Yeah.
Right? 'Cause-
Eating not the best food because you're in the streets, and so it's just like what's around, and there's so many different aspects that I need to work on if I want to continue to have longevity in this space.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, so, and this, for both of you, is what is it like to work in your hometown versus you both do stuff other places? What is it like? Why do you continue to do work in your hometown? And both of you are doing lots of work here.
Let's see. One of the things that comes to mind is like on the work level, the job level. I can get in my car, and 5 minutes later, I'm at Vara Wine Bar doing this wonderful sign painting gig. That's pretty cool.
Right?
All of my infrastructure for doing this work is all right here. Going out of town means figuring out how to pack it all up and make it easy to access. That's a challenge. It's not an emotional challenge. It's not a social challenge. It's just kind of a job thing.
Right, right.
I love my town. I love it here. I've been here 23 years. It's become home, even though I'm from Boston area, which is like total inversion in terms of the
Right.
weather.
Right.
Yeah, it's really hot. I'd prefer to be cold instead of hot.
No.
I'm with you, I know. So,
Well, so, no, how about you?
Man, it's special. It's just to have a unique connection to Albuquerque, and again, like I said, I've only been painting for 5 years, and I had no interest in the art. So, just growing up playing sports, and just feeling invested in the city, and then like as this journey has unfolded, being able to give back and just beautify it. I guess hopefully that's the goal.
Right? Yeah.
It's hard to describe, but so many people tell me all the time that I need to leave and I need to branch out and go to a bigger city, and that my career and my work will go to that next level. And I actively fight against that because I believe in this place and I believe in the people here, and want to use whatever God has given me to elevate Albuquerque. And so it's special for sure.
Yeah, that's we asked both of you about murals that you have here in town that you would ask people to go take a look at. But do you have and we only have a couple of minutes left, but do you have a favorite mural here in Albuquerque? And it could be your own.
Nani Chacon has one on Mountain and 4th, and it's turquoise background, and it's just a word. So simple. I think it's one of her first murals too. It's just great.
Yeah. I like that one too. Yeah. How about you? And there's so many new ones. I mean,
True.
that's what I really love. Yeah.
I don't know if these count as murals, but when I was driving down here, I just noticed the scope of work, all the mosaics that are on the convention center,
Right?
and just knowing all the work and all the stuff on the back end and everything that went into them building over time, all of those.
Right.
Just that's
Totally.
Yeah, they're
Special.
I think of them as a mural.
Yeah, I would say
You know,
so.
just a different material,
Yeah.
right? And so the murals that both of you, in terms of, so this is for our listeners, I hope that what we've been talking about has piqued your interest in murals. And if you want to check out a couple of Noah's and also Andrew's murals out there, we've been talking about the Turquoise Museum at 2nd and Cole. It's a really great, colorful, and really, you know, and I was saying earlier before we started recording, I love your one, the United. That's right. It's actually just across the street. Makes me want to jump up and shout and go to a game, right? And then Andrew, yours at Whole Foods. Is this the new Whole Foods?
Yeah.
Indian School and Carlisle.
Yep.
Wow. What side of the building is it on?
One is in seating, which is the cafe part.
Oh, okay.
That's a big sort of medallion, and then the other is above dairy, so all the ice cream, etc.
Oh, okay.
And that's big, long. And they, I did the mural part, and then the designers got to put the word Albuquerque in pink neon Lexan, you know, translucent plexiglass. So it's like it's wicked sparkly.
Cool. So I'll have to go check that out.
Yeah,
They're
that's
just
cool.
opening, right?
Yep. It just opened today, in
I
fact.
drove by that today as well, and it's the whole parking lot is just
I know.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird.
Well, I might head over there right now. Okay, well, for our listeners out there, feel free to take some selfies with their work, and you'll find lots of their work out there. Take a look at their websites.
Totally.
And if you go out and you take some selfies, you can tag us at Albuquerque ABQ Public Art on Instagram and Facebook. You can go to Noah. He's at nb.artistry. And for Andrew, Instagram is at andrew.fearnside with an A, F-E-A-R, fearnside.art. Or Facebook, which is at Andrew Fearnside with no punctuation.
Yep.
Any last thoughts for the that you would like to share with our audience?
It's a pathway. This is a thing that if you're a young artist and you're listening, this is a thing you can do. It's really hard to be the artist who's the star of the Venice Biennale. That's not a thing you can do. But this one is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get out there and do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Work on your craft, hone your skills, and there's opportunity, you know, for all of us to paint, to eat, you know. There's it's out there. We don't have to compete. We don't have to fight and claw for jobs. The opportunities are there. You just have to be great, you know. So yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And be grateful. I like that
Yes.
too.
Right,
Yes.
great and
It's huge.
grateful. All right, well, thank you again for joining us in the studio today. This was really
you.
a
Thank
great
you.
conversation. And so for our listeners, our next episode, which will be the last in this set of 3 episodes about murals, I will be discussing partnerships and community impact. In terms of projects in Albuquerque as well as Gallup. And we talked about that a little bit, and we'll dig into it a little bit more in our next episode. So thank you for listening, and we hope that after you've listened to this podcast, that you will take another look at Albuquerque's public art. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. To learn more about the Albuquerque Public Art Program, the Public Art Collection, opportunities for artists, and so much more, visit cabq.gov/publicart. To learn more about the Urban Enhancement Trust Fund, visit cabq.gov/UETF. Tune in next time to take another look at the City of Albuquerque Public Art Urban Enhancement Division.